The world of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has many stories, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the lore of the Dark World structure deck. Now if you've already read the Master Guide 2, then you'll know that the Dark World cards are actually meant to be the heroes of the story, but to me, that just seems like Dark World propaganda, because something about that story in Master Guide 2, there's a few things that just don't quite check out. So in this video I'm going to be looking solely at the cards in the Dark World structure deck, the story behind them, the story that this deck tells, and I'll be giving you my own interpretation of what's going on. Our story begins with Braun, the Mad King of Dark World, a Mad King who has one goal in mind, that being conquest. And to fulfill his goal of conquest, he opens up the gates of Dark World. We can see Braun standing at the front of the gates, entering the gateway to Dark World. Now, what's interesting about the gates of Dark World is that these gates actually look very similar to the gates that we see in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime, in which our main cast goes into these gates to get to the Dark World dimension. So I think that's a really cool detail that's very interesting. I don't know if it was intentional, but I imagine it probably was. Now, through the gateway to Dark World, Braun first sends the forces of darkness. The Huntsman, Brow, and the Scout, Scar. These two are sent ahead to scout out the world of the Dark World, and to see what sort of forces they have to oppose them, as Braun sends through the rest of his forces to take over. So Scar and Brow obviously report back to the Mad King Braun, and following them, Braun enters through himself with his head knight Zur. Now what's interesting about Zur is that his lore. The name of this illustrious knight is known by all residents of Dark World. He never oppresses the commoners. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's good, as the Master, like I said, the Master Guide 2 says that the Dark Worlds are in fact good guys despite their freaky looking appearance, and this lore would seem to support that. However, again, just because he doesn't oppress the commoners doesn't mean he doesn't oppress anyone. The commoners could only mean the Dark World monsters themselves, and of course any other fiends that find themselves in the Dark World. This is also, supported by the fact that the next card is Charge into a Dark World. This card is clearly has malicious intent going on. These two are charging in to the Dark World to take over, to fight, to battle whatever lies in store. Now, leading the armies of the Dark World is of course the Warlord Silver and the Wu Lord Gold. We see these two interact again in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime, in which they are combating the warriors, oppressing them, leading the army and taking over with their impressive Dark World lightning. Following the story of the Wu Lord Gold, we see him interact with Raikou of the Light Swans. Raikou somehow finds his way into the Dark World. Now we can imagine that probably the Dark Worlds and the Light Swans are at some sort of battle with each other, and Raikou finds his way. He gets lost in the Dark World and meets Gold, who surrounds him with his Dark Smog and starts tempting him to meet Grapha, the Dragon Lord of Dark World. Now when Raikou meets Grapha, sadly he is brainwashed by Grapha's Dark World brainwashing.
You cannot escape.
The Twilight Swan Raikou. We can see him now dressed in his Twilight Swan getup, and the fact that this card is called brainwashing just shows that the Dark Worlds aren't necessarily as nice as they say, as it says in the Master Guide 2. Following up this brainwashing, Raikou goes on to meet Snow, Unlight of Dark World, who leads Raikou onto his next mission with Dark World Puppetry. Now in Dark World Puppetry we see Raikou is happy, he's wagging his tail, he is fully brainwashed into a puppet for the Dark Worlds. The next story to cover is of course the story of Grapha, Dragon Lord of Dark World. He is one of the rulers of Dark World, one of the competing rulers, I would say, competing with Rainbow, Overlord of Dark World. I think these two are the two reigning rulers. I'm not sure where Braun, the Mad King, fits in, but these two are clearly very powerful. They are the most powerful Dark World cards, and they are the lords of the Dark World. Now, Grapha, in order to defeat Rainbow, achieves a power-up. He gets an ascension. Through Dark World Ascension, we see him taking on and absorbing this powerful energy, this gold and black lightning that surrounds him now in Dark World Ascension, and evolves him into Yrythaela, Dragon Overlord of the Dark World. Now with the title Overlord, he is clearly rivaling Rainbow's power in the Dark World lore. Now this is where Rainbow steps in. Rainbow, seeing Yrythaela, the Dragon Overlord of Dark World, he's gaining a lot of power. He's trying to take over with his new gold dark lightning, and Yrythaela of course can't have this. Now what's interesting about their artwork is that Yrythaela's lightning is the sort of black and gold. It's a dark lightning, whereas Rainbow's lightning is simply yellow. It's gold, it's white and gold. It's a lighter lightning compared to Yrythaela's dark lightning, and I think that this is quite interesting, and I don't know if it's intentional, but it could potentially show that these two are in fact rivals. Now, of course, seeing Yrythaela's new power-up, his grab at Rainbow's power, Rainbow would not be very happy about this, so Rainbow makes a deal with a dark card. We see in Dark World dealings, Yrythaela is holding on to this card here. We don't know exactly what this card is, but I do have a theory. Now we see this card is surrounded in this dark energy, this dark fog that surrounds him, and I think that that Rainbow is absorbing this dark energy and using it to power himself up to become Rainbow, the Over King of Dark World, now rivaling Yrythaela himself. As the Dragon Overlord, Rainbow becomes the Overking with his new power-up and uses his spear to punish Yrythaela for his misbehavior in Dark World Punishment. Now, I'm just making an assumption here that he's throwing his spear at Yrythaela, that they're having some sort of power battle between each other to see who the real ruler of the Dark World is. And from this, well, we don't know exactly, but we can only assume that Rainbow comes out on top as the new Overking. Now let's go back to Dark World dealings. The question is, how did Yrythaela and Rainbow get their power up? Now we see in Dark World dealings this sort of card here, this dark card. He's absorbing dark energy, and my theory with this is that the dark card featured in Dark World dealings is actually the Super Fusion spell card. The reason I think this is mainly because of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime, in which we see Braun use, what does he use? He uses the Wicked Cannon to try and bring forth Super Fusion by absorbing all this dark energy, this negative energy, and of course Judai's friends, which gives birth, it's meant to give birth to the Super Fusion, but since he failed to bring out Super Fusion, he instead had to settle for the original Rainbow Overlord of Dark World. So my theory here is that because there is obviously a connection between Rainbow and Super Fusion because of what we know with Wicked Cannon, I think that the dark card that Rainbow is absorbing the power from is actually Super Fusion, and this is further supported by the lightning that we see in Overking's artwork, where he's got this new fancy like spear type thing that's powered up by this yellow lightning, which is very similar to the lightning seen in Super Fusion. Yuri, if you could please put up an image of Super Fusion to show off that lightning that's featured in Rainbow's art and is also featured in the Super Fusion art. Now this further works with Dark World Ascension. We see this gold lightning. It's not quite the same as Super Fusion, but if you look closely over here, we see this sort of shine, very similar to Super Fusion, and of course, Yrythaela evolves to become a fusion monster, further supporting the fact that whatever gave them this power-up was some sort of fusion spell. Finally, the only stories we have left is just some miscellaneous stories. We see Gren, the Tactician of Dark World, one of my old favorite cards that I used to own way back in the day, a fake version. It's good to have the real version now. Gren is the Tactician of Dark World. He's their strategist. He leads their, he guides their army into battle and, just guides them to victory. And we can see Gren holding a book here, and he gets this book from, of course, the Dark World Archives. Now, it's interesting, in the Dark World Archives, we also see this other card here. I forget the name of it, but Yuri, please put it up on screen if you know what it's called. I've forgotten what it's called. But this card doesn't feature in the structure deck itself. It only features in the artwork of Dark World Archives, which is just a neat little addition to have and shows the connection between that card and the Dark World lore. The only other thing we have to go over for the lore is Renge, Gatekeeper of Dark World. He's got some interesting lore in his, he's obviously a normal monster, so his normal monster story reads, his renowned athletic physique has made him famous with the populace of Dark World. They call him Iron Wall Renge because no one can break through his incredible defenses. So that's a cool little story there for Renge. He seems like a popular guy among the Dark Worlds. The rest of the Dark World cards have no particular lore to go into other than their names. We have Genta, Gateman of Dark World, Ceruli, Guru of Dark World, Kaki, Gorilla of Dark World, Latinum, Exarch of Dark World, Lucid, Neverlord of Dark World, another lord in the Dark World story, which is interesting, Beige, Vanguard of Dark World, and Pearl, the Hermit of Dark World. Now, most of the Dark World cards are shown to be like part of an army. You know, you've got the Gorilla, you've got the you've got the Vanguard, we've got the Wu Lord, the Warlord, we've got, of course, the Scout and the Huntsman. They all seem to be part of an army, which further supports the fact that the Dark Worlds are in fact conquerors. They are, you know, they're led by a mad king, not a nice king, a mad king, and an overlord, and a dragon overlord, and an overking. These are not pleasant names, so I just disagree with the official lore in Master Guide 2 that the Dark Worlds are the good guys. The rest of the cards in this deck are just extra cards. They have no lore to go with them that involve the Dark Worlds, at least none that we can see from the pictures alone. Maybe new cards will come out that connect some of these cards to the Dark World lore, but I highly doubt it. So that is all that we have for the Dark World lore. So yes, that is the full story of the Dark Worlds as far as the Dark World structure deck is concerned. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please let me know down in the comments. Let me know if you want more structure deck lore, which I will do in the future. With the next structure deck, we'll be looking at the Trap Tricks deck and the Trap Tricks lore. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you have a friend who you think would enjoy the video, then do give this video a share to them. And of course, satisfy me by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can see more about the Dark World structure deck. Just the other day we opened this deck on camera, and next week we'll be looking into how to play the Dark World structure deck. Further down the line we'll have more Dark World structure deck videos, including combining 3 of them, what cards are good, how does it go in the meta, all that good stuff. So if you want to see any of that, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, as well as join the Discord server to chat with me and others. You also get notifications on videos there, you get to vote for things, you get to just any suggestion that you have, go to the Discord server, check us out over there. Got Twitter, got Instagram, all in the description below. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name has been Senkara, and until next time, see ya.